let's examine how God created man. If man is going to be replaced by machine, especially in the workforce, but in reality, in most everything, then we have to see what man was created for. What was the original design? What was the original purpose? Okay, like, why are we here? How did we get here? And what is it that we're supposed to do? 3 basic questions. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Notes from the Pulpit. If you're new here, Notes from the Pulpit is a companion podcast to our main show, the Family Pulpit Podcast. And on that show, I co-host with my son, who's now 11. And we've been talking about, we talk about a lot of things, but we had a little bit of direction when we first started this, and it's hard to believe it's been a year. We've only had 16, I think, main show episodes and a couple of our what we call unscripted episodes. So not that many. We're doing the best we can. Probably put an episode out every couple weeks or so. But what I have been doing is coming along and supplementing with this show, Notes from the Pulpit. So if you're new, please be sure to like and subscribe. I know that sounds silly, and it's always when I hear people do that, I'm like, man, what a crummy commercial, but it actually helps the algorithm, and it's silly to say that, but shows, episodes, not just ours, but other people's, get buried unless someone actually takes the time to hit the like button or hit the subscribe button, like on YouTube especially. I think it does okay on Spotify and Apple. Maybe there's places to like and subscribe there, make it a little bit easier as well. I did see, before I get started, I think it was on, I don't know what it was. It was either YouTube or Spotify, but you're able to see the analytics. And it was awesome to see that there were 25 countries that listen. You know, the majority is the United States, and that's fine. And the majority of the United States is male. Like between the age of 18 and 34. So that's great, because a lot of what we're talking about on the show and a lot of what I'm going to talk about today deals with specifically that generation, 18 to 34. But anyway, thanks for those who are listening to other countries. Leave a comment. Let us know where you're from. We're just 2 West Virginia boys that one of us really likes to talk. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, and people, despite all of the talking heads, despite all the podcasts, there's only a handful of them that are dealing with the things that we're dealing with. And I don't think that there's anyone who is coming at the AI angle the way that we are. And that leads me to where I want to talk about today. So when we first started our podcast, I was looking at AI. I was looking at artificial intelligence, and I was thinking, man, you know what? Even if it kind of does half of what they say and starts to take away jobs, starts to, move to kind of what they're calling a sentient being. But of course we know it's never going to have a soul. It can't really think independently. It can't replicate what humans can do as far as senses, etc. But there are some things that it can do, and it's getting better at. Right now, I think, even at this stage, I think it's pretty stupid. Like, I'm constantly having to correct it. But anyway, you can tell that there's some potential there. And back a year ago, I started thinking, well, even if it can do a little bit of what they say it can do, and maybe it gets rolled out a little bit slower, or, we got to hold out this possibility because we've talked about this on the show too, or it becomes a massive bubble that just pops. Either way, there's going to have to be some preparation that's made for what's about to happen. So instead of jumping right into AI, what I wanted to do back when we started was to kind of think through things from a creation and evolution standpoint. But because before you could jump into AI, you kind of have to look and see, okay, well, let's examine how God created man. If man is going to be replaced by machine, especially in the workforce, but in reality, most everything, then we have to see what man was created for. What was the original design? What was the original purpose? Okay, like, why are we here? How did we get here? And what is it that we're supposed to do? 3 basic questions. So in order to do that, we originally started out the show, episode 1, with a focus on evolution. And we recorded like 15 minutes or so. It just felt like our wheels were spinning. We weren't getting anywhere at all. And I said, man, you know what? We're going to have to pull the plug on this. Let's shelve it for a day or two, and we'll pick it back up. Rather than looking at evolution, let's look at creation. And so the episode 1, Origins, is a brief summary, a historical summary too, of the different views of creation, amongst which evolution is one. But, there's some main views that have been championed over the years. I would say the others can be Christian points of view on creation, and evolution cannot. So, sorry if that upsets you, but it's just the way it is. It inherently has to deny God. Now, that doesn't rule out theistic evolution, and we talk about that in the show. So when we move from there, from creation, of course, it takes us right into the image of God, the Imago Dei. Now, something that I came up with a few years ago when leading a Genesis study, I hadn't really thought of before, but when we hear image of God, a lot of times we don't really think, what does that mean? What does that entail? Like, we say it a lot, right? Like, image of God. God created male and female in his image and likeness. In the image of God, he created them, Like, what does that even mean? And so I started scratching my head back when I was doing this Genesis study, I don't know, 2019, I think it was, pre-COVID. Well, I started thinking about Imago Dei, and it's representative, like the vice regent, and then the representation. That means a reflection of who God is, his attributes. His attributes, some of them are communicable to us. They can be transferred to us. Not all of them, but some of them. So we're God's representative and we're God's representation. And then as we were doing our podcast episode, I was like, you know what? There's a third one here that's kind of foundational. And that's that when you're made in the image of God, you're made in relationship to God, inherently. Now, this particular statement is one that people get wrapped around the axle on, and they get confused, and they think when someone says that God is the Father of all, God is our Father, all of our Father. Well, he is in a creator type of role, but he's not in a special type of role that he can only be the Father of his children who have been redeemed in Christ. So there's a little bit of a nuance there, but that relational aspect of it. So we went from image of God, and then from image of God, we moved over to what was man created to do originally? What were the commissions that were given to him? And we saw this in Genesis chapter 2. Man was put into the garden to work and to till it, to work and to keep it. That little play on words in the Hebrew helped us to see that there's a relationship between work and worship. And I hadn't seen this before. I didn't know about this. But that word that's used there, like to work and to till, the work part of it, can actually be worship. It can actually be translated as worship. So there's clearly a word choice that was chosen that integrated worship. And in fact, we looked and saw that when that phrase, working to till, or working to keep, or working to guard, it's priestly language that elsewhere when those two words are paired up, it's in respect to priests. So we looked at how Adam's role in the garden was priestly, but he actually did have a physical manual job. Like, he was actually expected to take care of the garden. So that whole worship paradigm that we kind of developed led us to look at the history of work. After we explored the fact, I think I had notes from the pulpit, explored the fact that the Garden of Eden was a temple, Adam is functioning like a priest. Then we looked at the history of work, and we saw how there were some things that have kind of come along that messed up work along the ways after we worked through what work has looked like over the centuries and millennia. A couple things have disrupted that flow. One was the Platonic influence on the institutional church, and that really was the emphasis on the immaterial over the material. You know, a lot of people didn't like that physical labor. They thought it was beneath them. We still do that today. The Industrial Revolution was the second thing. It really was the catalyst that destroyed the family, upended work as we knew it, upended work as it was created to be, actually. And we're living in a post-industrial revolution now. We're actually in the fourth industrial revolution, but we're just operating with that same mindset. You know, like the dad, I'm on my way to work right now. The dad leaves the home. A lot of times the mom leaves the home. If that's the case, then the kids are leaving the home and they're put into government-run education systems, right? That was the third thing that disrupted work. Because when we're put into that system, the predefined system, where someone's going to tell you what it is you're going to learn with people that you probably would have never chosen to be your friends, it creates a pattern. And that pattern forces you into that industrial model, right? Like we were always told, in order to be successful in life, you have to have good grades throughout all your school year, right? Like that's like, I don't really know if that's a motivation, but it was held out there for us. Have good grades, make good grades so that you can get into a good college, so you can get a good job. And that's where I want to come at. And by the way, the fourth thing that disrupted work was feminism. We looked at that one pretty in depth and found out it was far more destructive force than what I thought. And it really kicked off started in the 1700s, but it really started kicking off in the 1900s. It's ongoing today. It's how we got our trans, our LGBTQ movement. It came out of feminism, by the way. But anyway, back to what I was talking about with the pattern that was set for us. You know, if you want to be successful in life, you got to go to school, right? And be taught by a teacher. Usually a female is teaching a mixed population of students. So you don't have a male influence on the kids. If you're wondering what's wrong a lot of times in society, it's absentee fathers, the lack of the father in the home because of work, and no male presence in the school system. It's the feminization of society. I'm sorry to say that, but it actually is. You have to have male and female influencing on both boys and girls. They can't get a lopsided view of things. But go to school, make good grades, so you can get into a good college, right? Find yourself a good job. Okay. Now, I actually don't think, shocker here, but I actually don't think that 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds can make a decision clear-headed and wise about what it is they want to do for the rest of their life. I remember when I first transitioned from private school into public school in the 8th grade. That was a bit of a culture shock, by the way, going from a private school where I was in detention all the time for whatever reasons to a public school, inner city public school. Talk about culture shock. Anyway, the guidance counselor brought me in. I still remember this, and I told this in one of the other episodes. Set me down, and he's asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm 13 years old. A baseball player? I mean, like, I have no idea. I don't even know what the jobs are. Like, what are you talking about right now? And so the reason why is because they have various tracks, even way back then, long time ago. Not quite 40 years, but close. They had certain tracks that they want to put you in to prepare you for the job that you wanted. As a 13-year-old, you can't be serious right now. But they put me in remedial classes because I came from a private school. And they said I would be too slow. I'd be too far behind to keep up with the advanced classes. Well, that didn't last. Not that this episode's about me, but that didn't last because the guys in the remedial class, they don't care if they're there or not. They just sit in the back and they don't do a single thing. They're waiting until they turn 16 so they can just quit school. I mean, it was really bad. Like, I cannot express to you, it's bad. I don't know if they still do that today. They have the breakdown of the classes like that, but there was like a remedial class. Then there was kind of a middle of the road class. It took a couple of the teachers a couple weeks, a month or two, and they were like, you need to get out of this class. And so they took care of it. It eventually handles itself. But when I got to high school, they did the same thing. They had even more specific tracks that they would push you on, depending on what you wanted to be, like what you wanted your career to be. And so I kind of was like, well, what about engineering? Nah, I'm not an engineer, and I don't know if it's a math problem, or I don't know what the problem is. But they kind of gear you toward these things, right? Like I'm sure that the girls are geared more towards teachers or more towards humanities, and the guys are more geared towards engineering. That's probably the tracks that they were pushing people down at the time. But then you're preparing for college, right? So if all of this, if you stop and think about it for just a second, in this post-industrial revolution framework that we're in, if everything that we do in life, and by that I mean everything that we are, everything that we wake up in the morning, is to go to school for what? From the age of 5 to the age of 18, so 13 years, and then 4 to 5 years of college. Now you're at 17 to 18 years, and then a couple years of grad school, so 20 years. If everything that we do for the first 20 to 25 years of our life is so that we can get a good job, what a jacked up system it is. We're actually not living, but we're working. We're actually living to work. Like everything that we do is tied up in this system of work. And you might go, well, yeah, what's wrong with that? God created us to work. Oh. Don't baptize work so quickly yet. Go back and listen to those episodes that we talked about. And I'm going to help us think through this even more coming up on the main show as we dive into the family economy. But the world is not approaching this from God gave us work to do, and that's what we're created to do, and we can do all work has dignity, and now go get yourself a good job after you graduate college. I'm sorry, but the world is not approaching work that way. They are not. This is a designed system to keep you paying into, to keep you buying and paying and spending to support a world system, a global economy. That started happening after the Industrial Revolution. People started having so much inventory that they didn't know what to do, right? So if you had a mom and pop working on their farm, and the mom's maybe she's a good sewer and she's able to make some clothes, she can pump out a few shirts or dresses a week, but it's not going to be at scale, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then a factory comes along, puts her shop out of business because they can make thousands of these things for faster and cheaper. But the problem is nobody wants them. They've got thousands of dresses, but nobody wants a new dress. Why? Because, well, they bought the nice one that's going to last for a while from that mom and pop. And if it tears, they're just going to put a patch on it. They don't really have need for 10 dresses. They can only wear one at a time. So why would they have 10? This is real world. This is actually what happened. You can insert other things other than dresses, but there was a supply and demand issue. They had a lot of supply. So what happens? What do? You have to make people start buying things that they don't actually need. And you have to make people start buying things that they didn't know that they wanted. And that's exactly what happened. It started out pretty slow, but then it gained speed, especially in the 1900s. And I mentioned his name in my last notes from the pulpit, a little shorty on propaganda, but it was Edward Bernays was one of the key figures in this, the marketing and advertising, to get people to buy stuff that they didn't actually need. So we're caught up now in this post-industrial revolution mindset. And we actually think that's the norm. But it's really pushing us towards consumerism. It's a system designed around consumerism. We don't ever stop and think about these things. We're like, well, you know what? It's obvious on my friends around me. My parents told me to go to school, get good grades, so I can go to good college and get a good job. Right? Like that's what we've always been told. And we thought that's what we're supposed to do. We take our kids to church. We tell them about Jesus. We get a job where we can make money. We pay these bills. Think about that. We buy food to put on the table. We have maybe an hour or two in the evening of our own time. Maybe we have a weekend for sports and mowing grass. We have a Sunday where we go to church, then we largely sit around, and then we get up and start it all over again. Now, think about this. Legitimately think about this. Is that what we're made for? Were we made for this? I don't think so. So, what do? Well, in this system that I'm talking about, post-industrial revolution and consumerism driven, it also was the promotion of the individual. The family broke down. The dad went to the coal mines or to a mine of some sort, maybe to a factory. The mom and the kids, they went to the textile industries, and eventually this would lead to the institution of daycares. We go over all this history, even though it's in a summary version of it, we go over all this. Daycares are created so the moms can work. The family's fractured. The focus is on the individual. It is you, Johnny. Go to school. Get good grades so you can go to a good college and select a job for you, independent of the family. And that mindset, we never once stopped to question and go, wait a second. I'm not merely an individual, but I'm a piece of a community. And the community that I'm largely a piece of is the family.